Nothing Like Coincidence Part 2. All the people in the town started keeping the riverbank clean after news of the river god's gift of gold to Kwesi. Even the taxi drivers who used to laugh at him and call him names all stopped pouring rubbish in the river and started cleaning where they packed their taxis every evening after work. This continued for some time and the river god became very happy, hence started protecting the town and the indigenous people in it. A year later, a young man relocated to that town and married one of the ladies in the town, whose father was the Koko Krachi, a very wealthy man. They lived together peacefully for 3 years but did not have a child. Then suddenly the lady's father died, leaving her a big cocoa farm and lots of gold as she was an only child. After the funeral, the lady moved the gold to their house and hid it under their bed after showing it to her husband. They both decided to change some and use it for business and leave the rest for their future children. The young man, on seeing the amount of gold his wife now had in her possession, became greedy and wanted it for himself alone. One morning when they woke up, his wife served him breakfast, and on tasting the food, he started raining insults on his wife for no reason. He added that food was too salty and tasteless. He left the food and then went out in anger. Evening came and he was still not back home, so his wife became worried and started asking the neighbors if anyone had seen him. They all said no. After waiting for some time, she fell asleep, leaving their door open. Late in the night, neighbors heard her shouting for help and they run from their rooms. On reaching there, and to their surprise, the young man had butchered his wife and she was lying in a pool of her own blood, dead. Luckily, one of them saw him running and they chased him to the forest. He went into hiding and after a long search they couldn't find him, so left the forest to their homes. The news was brought before the king and he sent a search party the next day to look for him. They again went to the forest and searched everywhere but could not find him and returned. The third day, early morning, as the servants were sweeping, they found the young man lying in front of the palace very weak, and they drew the attention of the king. The king then called for a gathering as the young man was now in. At the presence of everyone, the king asked the young man why he killed his wife. He said it was greed. He wanted to keep all the gold and cocoa farm to himself only. Then the king asked him why he came back. To everyone's surprise, he said it was not his will. He said he was on the run for 3 days, but everywhere he went, he met an overflowing river at the borders of the town, which made it impossible for him to leave the town. This was not so in real life, as people traveled out of the town every day, and it wasn't even a raining season, so how can rivers be overflowing? He also said that there was a very tall man holding Cain and beating him throughout the run, asking him to go back and confess, and that man led him back to the palace, and was even standing by him as they spoke, but he was the only one seeing him. The chief priest was called and asked what was going on. He then said Dentsu, the river god, was the one who brought him back and kept beating him. He was also the one who showed up at all the borders of the town, overflowing just to stop the young man from running away. He added that the river god was happy with the people as they had been keeping his place clean and hence had promised to protect them at all times. The young man was arrested and imprisoned for life, and the young lady was given a befitting state burial. From then henceforth the king made a decree that anyone who was seen throwing rubbish into the river will be punished severely. The river god and the people in the town lived together peacefully for many, many years. Their land prospered and no evil befell them again.